What's good with all my people? Workout Wednesday. Why back Wednesday? Just got done with the back workout. Great productive workout as usual. Let's get right to the video though, man. We got to talk about it, man. We got to talk about it. We officially in a government shutdown, and it's funny because yesterday, I had got mandated at work, to work second shift from 4 to midnight. So, I'm chilling on the unit with the inmates. I'm in the office on the computer, just keeping tabs on it. And 9 o'clock roll around, 10 o'clock roll around. I'm like, man, they finna shut it down, man. I already knew in the back of my head it was fitting to happen, because they playing too much hardball. It's going back and forth. And, it's outside of our power. We can't control what's going on up in the White House. I'm like, man, it is what it is. This ain't my first ordeal dealing with a government shutdown. I done went through in my career, let me see, about 4 different shutdowns. Some were, they passed the spending bill within a day. The longest I went through was, I think, the first time Trump was in office. It was like 37 days, I believe. So we went damn near a month without getting paid, and I remember the first one I went through was right in 2013. I had just started working I was in my rookie year, right? And I think it went on 17 days. So I think I didn't get paid, a check or two. So, I'm like, man, so for the people that's just starting out in your career, you may be a rookie or you may be in your first year or two, you fresh out of high school or college, money's tight, man. I get it. I feel for you. I was in the same predicament, in a sense that I'm like, man, I had worked 2 years at the county jail, right? So I had cashed out my retirement from there. I didn't roll it over into the TSP and whatnot. So I had, a few $1,000s to hold me over that first government shutdown until we got paid again, but I was like, man, after that, I got on my hustle, man. I'm like, man, I got to work this overtime and stack this bread up, for situations like this. And it's crazy, we go through this every year around this time. You just don't know if they're going to shut it down or they going to pass a spending bill. It's like they going back and forth. The last I checked, I had just checked a few minutes ago, they done went out of town. I'm like, what do you need to go out of town for? Y'all need to lock yourself in the chambers at the White House and stay in there, sleep on cots until y'all come up with a spending bill, man. Reopen the government. Y'all playing with people's livelihoods. You know what I'm saying? And I'm seeing all these comments. I be scrolling on Yahoo, Reddit, looking at comments, man. It's all kind of crazy comments. People talking about shut it down, this and that, man. I try to tune all that out, man, but I'm aware of what people are saying, and it's like, man, I feel for the actual people, that have bills, they dependent on their paycheck and you don't know how long it's going to last. It could be, I don't know, the longest one, like I said, was 37 days. That's damn near going on a month and a half. That's damn 3 checks. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I feel for the rookies, the newer officers, the newer government employees, man. You may have just got out of college, just landed on your feet. You just starting to pay real bills. And it's like, man, I need that check, man. So my message to you is to hang in there. Keep your head up, man. Stay optimistic. And all we could do really is take a wait and see approach, man. You don't know how long it's going to go on, man. It's funny to me, they still getting paid. The Congress, they still getting their paycheck. But everything else, most other government functions cease. We ain't getting our paychecks, for Department of Justice, all these other federal agencies. Yeah, they getting paid. And even if they wasn't getting paid, it probably wouldn't even matter to majority of the people that's in office, that's in Congress, because a lot of them already millionaires anyway. So, it's like, even if they didn't get their paycheck, it's like they're not going to miss it, versus the people that's on the front line, that's coming in doing their job, federal government employees that may not be nowhere near their situation or as blessed or as fortunate. We need our money. It just is what it is, So, this is what I want to reiterate though, man. You got to understand that us, most government employees, it ain't nothing wrong that we did. We ain't do nothing wrong. Most of us, we coming into work, we doing our job, trying to make an honest day's living and go back home to our families, man. You know, you can't control politics. You can't control things that are outside of your control. The powers that be, they go back and forth, man. Oh, it's the Democrat. Oh, it's the Republicans, man. It's like, man, I'm like, bro, y'all playing with people's livelihoods, man. It's like a bunch. I don't know how to explain it, man. But it's like, it's madness. It goes, you get to this situation every time. And it's like they try to kick the can down the bucket. Oh, we'll just pass the bill for another 3 months, and then you right back at the same problem, man. They need to make it to where they don't shut the government. They need to make some kind of new laws, I feel, you know, where they don't shut. There's no way they can shut the government down. They just going to have to come up with a resolution, man, because it's like they holding millions of Americans that work for the government hostage. You know what I'm saying? It's like some people, you know, they may not be in a position financially where they could go, you know, a month or 2 months without, you know, having a paycheck. You know, like I said, I went through that first time, and that was my wake-up call. You know, I was like, after that, I was like, that'll never happen again, man. So I got on my hustle, picked up as many overtime shifts as I could over the past 10 years, and I just been stacking, man, stacking. So when things like this arise, you know, I can hold myself afloat for however long, 6 months to a year and a half, you know, however long it may take, you know, and I can pay all my bills. That's the goal right there, man. That's why in some of my other videos, I be preaching so much about, you know, putting as much as you can into your retirement account. You know, not only that, having money outside of your retirement account, you know, setting you up a brokerage account where you buy stocks, you know, or you got an IRA, you know, that's money that you could touch without it getting penalized. You know, you could just draw from your savings, you know, paying off debt, not trying to live above your means. That's why I be making them videos for situations like this that's going to occur. And like I say, we're going to go through this every single time, every year, man. It always comes down to the wire. I think the last time they passed it within like a couple hours of the deadline. You know, who's to say how long it's going to stay shut down, man? They playing some real hardball, man. There's some crazy stuff going on, man. It's like they not budging. You know, the powers that be, they going crazy. They're like, man, like I said, I just seen the last update. They left town. I think they said it's a holiday on Thursday. Cancel the holiday. Y'all can shut down the government, shut down the holidays too, man. Stay at the White House, stay up in D.C. But who am I, man? I'm just voicing my opinion, man, trying to give, you know, the people that rock with me, you know, that may also be fellow government employees, some hope, some inspiration. You know, one thing I do know for sure, every single government shutdown, you know, they eventually opened it back up, and we eventually got back pay, you know. So it's business as usual, man. You know, try to keep showing up to work. You know, don't get sad, don't get depressed, don't get angry. It's easy. I know it's easy to be angry because you're like, man, why do they keep doing this? We got to keep going through all of this, man. The state governments don't usually have to do anything like this or have to deal with that type of stuff. State government employees. So why do we have to, you know, go through this every single year? Keep showing up to work. You know, like I said, they're going to open it up eventually, and you're going to get your back pay. You know, me, like I say, it's business as usual for me, man. You know, I prepared for this situation. You know, I remember the last time, you know, I was close to not, you know, if I didn't have that retirement money from when I worked for the county jail when I was up in West Virginia, man, I would have been in a predicament like a lot of people may be facing now. Like, man, I need that check, man. You know, most people, you know, a lot of people may be living paycheck to paycheck. It is what it is, man. I like to keep it realistic. I like to relate to people. You know, I know, you know, like I said, a lot of us may not be where we want to be financially. You know, we may have just been on the way to get where we want to be, man. Now you's like, damn, I got to whip out my credit card in the meantime or draw from my savings. You know, that's a part of life, though, man. It just shows you how it's going to test your willpower, man. How resilient can you be, man? Can you keep going? Can you keep showing up, man? You know, it's like I said, man, just hang in there, right? You know, and remember this. This too shall pass. It's going to pass, man. And we're going to be on to the next phase. We're going to be looking to brighter and sunny days, man. I know it's hard right now. It's a lot going on, man. It's a lot of division right now, you know, in our country. It's a lot of craziness going on. Every time you turn on the news, every time you hop on social media, it's always something going on, man. But you got to look past that, and you just got to stay, like I said, stay optimistic, man. Stay locked in on what it is you trying to accomplish, man. You can't, like I said, you can't control what's going on up in the White House, man. You got to focus on what's going on inside your house. Y'all like this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel at the Ghetto Bodybuilder. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok at the Ghetto Bodybuilder. I got the merch for sale. Defund the gym, foreign police. One of my gym shirts right here. Y'all got any input, thoughts? I want to hear y'all's thoughts and comments on this whole situation, man. You a federal government employee, or you thinking about joining? What's your thoughts? What's your comments? How you feeling about what's going on? Everything that's been going on in the news here lately. I'll catch y'all on the next video. Y'all know how we coming. Let's get motivated.